Working full-time as a doctor and being a mum is long. It is long and it's hard, but is it doable? Stick around and let's find out. So I'm Remy, I'm an obstetrics and gynecology doctor. I have 2 kids, I'm married, I now work full-time, hence the title of this video, and I also do a few other things on the side. On this channel, I just want to discuss how I'm making room for myself and being more intentional about life. And if that's something that you would be interested in, please hit the subscribe button, please just give this video a like, and drop in the comments how you came across my videos and what else you would like to know. This video is for you if you're a doctor, if you work full-time, part-time, you've just had children, maybe you've had children a few years ago, and you're going back to work and you're trying to figure out a better balance in life. And I'm going to be talking about in this video what it's really like to be working full-time in medicine as a mother, and how I've been managing it. I've been doing it for the last 6 months after working less than full-time for the majority of my career, and I have some learnings to share, so stick around. So I've done a video similar to this before and I would like you to check it out. I'll link it down below, and it's about my experiences working less than full-time, the pros and the cons of it. And I remember telling a friend that I'm gonna go full-time, which was like, you? But you've got such less than full-time energy. And yes, I do. I like a soft life. But for the last 6 months, I've been working full-time and I have found it hard, but I've ultimately found it doable, I think. So I'm gonna share the pros, the cons, and some tips if you're considering working full-time or less than full-time. So why did I go full-time? Why? I keep asking myself this, to be very honest. My main motivator was that I've been training in obstetrics and gynecology since 2016, and I should have completed training in October 2023. However, I had children, I took a year out, and I worked part-time. So I worked 80% of the full-time rota, and I had done that for the majority of my career. So last year, that was giving me a predicted end date of December 2026. And I am fed up of training. Training is great. Obstetrics and gynecology is a great specialty. I genuinely recommend it. However, what comes with being a trainee on a specialty training job is that you get a batch of a region that you know you're going to work in for 7 years in my case. But every year or so you change hospitals, you work on a rota, you do long days, nights, you're working 48-hour weeks. And that can be quite telling. Unlike planning, I like to plan. I don't like every summer being like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm gonna do for the next year. This past year, for instance, I worked every school holiday doing a night shift, and it's just been so disruptive, and I'm done. I just don't want to be a trainee anymore. So that was my main motivator for going full-time. And secondly was money. Like, the cost of living has gone up, like so up, and I was like, in my head for the last however many years, I've been telling myself, oh, you're 80%, you just need to do 1 locum here, 1 locum there, and you make the money up. It is a lie. Now that I've got my full-time salary, I didn't realize how much I was missing out on and how much I was leaving on the table. So that's been a secondary motivator really for going through this full-time. I'm not gonna lie, December last year I had a blip. I was like, I can't do all this. And I was like, should I just go back to working part-time? And then I thought about the money and I was like, Remy, put your big girly pants on and just stick it out. You'll get there. And I am getting there, and I've got a few more months to go. So by all calculations, I probably have about a year left of training, and then I can then figure out what it is I'm going to do with my career going forward. So the pros of working full-time, as I've alluded to, is you get through training quicker, you get more money. But most importantly, I think in the context of a clinical career and a career that requires skills, mental and physical skills, the more you're at the thing, the better you are at it. The more I'm at work, the more confident I am at work, the more that I get to do from a skills point of view, the more that my career is flourishing. And I always say that if you're someone that wants to be a surgeon, that wants to have technical hands-on skills, you want to be doing that thing way more often. Having said that, my career is so varied. You can be a really technical hands-on surgeon, go down more of the medical route, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to dedicate your whole life to the job. I think as a millennial, I speak for a lot of us, that balance is key. Another pro, I think, of working full-time, and this is like a backhanded pro, you have less time. And when you have less time, you learn the art and the skill of managing that time way more effectively. And I say this to say that when I knew that I'd have a day off or I did less weekends, I was just a bit laissez-faire about putting systems in place in the household, making sure that we had help, making sure that I outsourced, making sure that I did things efficiently because I had time. Where I've now not had time, the first few months I was struggling, I felt overwhelmed, and that was because I didn't have systems in place. And now it's forced me to put certain systems in place to come to actually realizations that things need to be done a certain way for us to work as a family. And I think that's been really important and really key. And following on from that, as a mother, we want to feel indispensable to the household. I definitely want to feel that. And I felt like if I go to work full time, how will the kids cope? How will my husband cope? I'm putting more pressure on him. I'm putting more pressure on them. I'm going to be absent more. And how will they survive? Newsflash, they will. They will survive. And if you sort of get over yourself in a way, and realise that they'll be fine without you, it means that you can genuinely do the things that are needed for your own well-being. You can genuinely make room for you. And that's what this channel's about. How can you live intentionally as a mother, as a working woman? And that's something I'm discovering. And I think working full-time has allowed me to really look in the mirror and consider that the kids will be fine without me. And although I've had less time to myself, I have found a way to incorporate more self-care now than I ever did when I was working less than full-time. And I think that just goes to show that things will take up as much time as you allow it to take up. And being full-time and having less time outside of work has meant that I've really had to narrow down what's important and what's not. So moving on to the cons. I think that being a trainee in the UK, yes, we're being trained, but a lot of it is service provision. And who cares? Like, we're getting paid, we're doing a job, right? But being full-time just means I'm doing more service provision. Like, there have been weeks where I'm like, nah, this is long. Like, this is not necessarily improving my clinical skills. I'm just being battered by the rota. And I think that's quite hard to take, because when you're doing such a physical job, like, the physical demands on me, the mental demands have just been way more. And actually, as much as I've mentioned all the pros, it has meant that I have felt way more overwhelmed, I have felt way more burnt out, and I'm really trying to find a way to take care of myself, take care of my mental health, so that I can be effective in my home and for myself, and even at the job. And I've alluded to this already, like, you want to feel like you're winning in life. And I've, for the last 6 months, felt a lot of the time that I'm struggling, that I am overwhelmed, that I'm not able to do the things that give me joy or bring me joy or make me feel like a human being. I am just being battered and pulled in different directions. And that's where the burnout comes from. And I think that really is a con that we don't discuss of working full-time. And I've spoken to colleagues who work part-time and they're like, oh, just go back to part-time, you'll feel better. And I agree, I'll feel better. But my personal burnout, I think, is a combination of being at work but also being in a training program. And for me, the balance is, do I work at a faster rate and get done with training where I know that I will then have the freedom, or do I work slower now and prolong this training program, which for me is also quite overwhelming and affects my mental health? And I've opted for the latter. And so far it's been hard, but I do see light at the end of the tunnel, and I have had these systems in place, and I have asked for more help from my family, my extended family, and I am getting through. So my key learnings are just, if you're gonna work full-time, like if you're currently less than full-time and you're like, can I handle it? Can I work at a full-time pace? Can I get there? I think you can. I genuinely think that it's doable, it's possible. Lots of people do it in the UK and around the world. And I think we're in a really privileged position in the UK to be able to work part-time as a trainee doctor. So yes, it's doable. But in order to make the most out of it, you just have to be really clear on your boundaries. Say no to extra work. So as doctors, yes, we work clinically, but yes, then you've got to do your e-portfolio, audit, write guidelines. And I think that this year, honestly, I'm so proud of myself. For the first time ever, people have come up to me and said, Remy, can you do this project? And I have said, I do not have capacity. And for me, that is a win. Like, that is such a win. And I think that's what you need to be able to do. You need to be able to say no when you cannot accommodate that extra workload. So if you are a mum who works in the NHS and is working full-time or part-time, I really hope that this video has helped you out in some way, because I think it's really important for us to have these really honest conversations. And I remember coming into training being like, who could I ask? Who could I ask? What's it really like? And I hope that this video goes on to start answering that question for you. If you have any more questions, please put them in the comments down below. Let's have a conversation about what it's really like to work in the NHS as a mum. How do you juggle it all, especially in today's economy, especially as generations are changing and the workforce really needs to change to accommodate that. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I want you to go away from this video figuring out how can I make room for myself in the next few weeks to be intentional about living, and see you in my next one.